Yeehaw, I got snake eyes.
Today we're building Jon Snow, bastard son of Eddard Stark, and I know that's a lie. The show's been over for almost a year now, and if you haven't seen the show, this build is probably not going to be for you. It has some spoilers, and I don't want to be the guy who ruined Game of Thrones for you. They did that to themselves. When we're building Jon Snow, I have to bite the bullet and say I won't be building him with a long claw. I'm sorry, but there's no viable way in order to build a weapon like that into a character in Pathfinder 2e, except for some exceptions, which I'll talk about now. Jon Snow could be a monk, but his unarmed strikes would have the resistance, not the sword. He could be a barbarian and ignore resistances when he rages, but Jon Snow doesn't rage. Champions are good, but Jon Snow doesn't really do anything Paladin-esque. And he doesn't really follow any of the gods or have any causes that really fit him. Except for his real cause, which is probably the best cause anyone could have in Game of Thrones. That being said, I know it's very important to the character to have this kind of sword. And in all my readings, I found the best exchange for Valyrian steel is probably an adamantine weapon. And the weapon is given to him by Jorah Mormont of the Night's Watch anyway, so if the DM feels generous, he can give you that weapon. But be aware, I'm not going to be building Lawclaw. So, with that being said, our goals for this build are to have great swordsman skills. The Longclaw is a bastard sword, so we need to be good with the bastard sword. We also need to have Ghost, because while we won't have Longclaw, he does have a good boy. And that good boy is big, but he's also still a good boy, so we need a good boy. We also need Kingly Charisma to be able to rally the troops, or at the very least convince them into defending the realm of men to their death. For our first level, we get 4 boosts at level 1. Pick Strength, Constitution, Dexterity, and Charisma. Jon is noted to be a strong, strapping young lad with a natural charisma that makes people listen and follow him. And because Jon Snow knows nothing, won't be focusing on intelligence, and will seldom level up wisdom. Jon Snow is a human, if you couldn't tell. They have 8 hit points at level 1. They have a speed of 25 feet. They're medium-sized creatures, and as a human, you get 2 free ability boosts to put in whatever. I would recommend Strength and Constitution. For our heritage, pick Versatile, and pick the general feat, Die Hard. To not die the dying condition of 4, and instead die the dying condition of 5, because you die hard. Not like that. For background, I would pick Noble, because despite being a bastard son, you're still raised by Eddard Stark. You get 2 boosts. One I would place in Charisma, and the other one I would put in Strength. You're also trained in the Society skill, and you have a choice of Genealogy lore or Heraldry lore. Your heritage is/was a mystery throughout the books and the show, so genealogy isn't exactly character appropriate, go heraldry. Let's be real, people who know Jon Snow's parents they know it as soon as they read R plus L equals J. It makes the most sense. George, stop pretending. Let's get Courtly Graces, which is a skill feat you can use society to make an impression on people, which is really good when you need to convince people to need to die for a cause they don't believe in. Now, for class, Jon Snow is, without a doubt, a fighter. You get Expert in Perception, Expert in Fortitude, and Reflex saves. You're also trained in Will saves. You're trained in your choice of Acrobatics or Athletics. Pick Athletics because you're more of a bolstery boy. You're trained in a number of survival skills equal to your Intelligence modifier plus 3, so just a flat 3. Pick Diplomacy, Survival, and Intimidation. For that Stark Honor, for Cold North Living, and for Stark Charm. You're an expert in simple weapons and martial weapons. You're trained in advanced weapons. You're an expert in unarmed strikes, and you're trained in all armor, unarmored defense, and fighter class DC. At the first level, get Attack of Opportunity to make a melee strike against a creature who uses a manipulate action or move action, makes a ranged attacks, or leaves a square during a move action that's around you. If your attack is a critical hit and the trigger was a manipulation, you get to disrupt the action. This strike doesn't count towards your multiple attack penalty, and your multiple attack penalty doesn't apply to the strike. So, if you use up all of your last turn making nothing but strikes, you have a -10, this doesn't count to your AOO. For our fighter feat at this level, pick Sudden Charge to stride twice, and if you end your movement within melee reach of one enemy, you get to make a melee strike against them. So you can charge with the 50 feet at this level and slash somebody. From our heritage, let's pick Natural Ambition and get Power Attack. This counts as 2 attacks when calculating your multiple attack penalty, and if the strike hits, you deal an extra die worth of damage. If you're at least 10th level, that increases to 2 extra die. If you're at the 18th level, that's 3 extra die, for a maximum of 4 die when you're attacking somebody. You also get Shield Block, where you can use the Shield Block reaction, but I'm sorry, Jon doesn't use the shield. It might be useful if he did, but he doesn't. At the second level of fighter, we need to have a fun little dog that can tear up people's throats on an attack. So let's get the Beastmaster Dedication to get a small animal companion. Pick a little wolf. For our skill feat at this level, get Group Impression to make an impression. You can compare your diplomacy check to the result of the will DCs of 2 targets instead of 1. And that's 4 when you're an expert, 10 if you're a master, and 25 if you're legendary. You just need to convince Sam to get behind you because you're both from noble houses and you're both kind of outcasts in your own right. At the 3rd level, you get Bravery. Your rank in will saves increases to expert, and when you roll a success on a will save against fear, you get a critical success instead. Because guess what? No one's going to scare Jon Snow. Except for Ygritte. And Tormund. And the dragons. A lot of people scare Jon, actually. In addition, anytime you get the Frightened condition, you reduce its value by 1. And in general feat, you get Toughness to increase your health by your level. You also get a skill increase. This increases Diplomacy to expert. At the 4th level, get Dueling Parry. You can now parry attacks against you with a one-handed weapon. Get a +2 bonus to your AC until the start of your next turn, as long as you meet the requirements of using a one-handed weapon. You're using a bastard sword, it's already one-handed anyways to use this. And for a skill feat, get Terrain Expertise to get a +1 to environments. Pick between Arctic or Forest. Both feel appropriate for Jon. Forest is more a home field advantage if you're from the north, but Arctic would be great for the Land of Always Winter. So pick whatever your DM decides your environment is. 5th level fighter, we get 4 ability boosts. Put them in Strength, Constitution, Charisma, and Wisdom. Jon's starting to wise up a little bit more from being out in the wastes and the wilderness for so long. And Charisma is because he's really starting to get a leadership role in the Night's Watch. For Ancestry feat at this level, go for General Training and pick Incredible Initiative. To add a +2 to initiative rolls, Fighter Weapon Mastery, choose one weapon group. Your rank increases to Master with those weapons, and Expert with advanced weapons of that group. So pick swords, and you get all that. For our skill increase, let's get Survival up to Expert to learn how to survive up in the Grim North. For the 6th level, pick Mature Beastmaster to increase Ghost's size. Increases Strength, Dexterity, Constitution, and Wisdom modifiers all by 1. Increases unarmed attack damage from 1 dice to 2, so now dealing 2d8 plus 3 damage. And his rank for Perception and all saving throws increase to Expert. Increase his proficiency ranks in Intimidation, Stealth, and Survival. And if it was already trained in those skills, increase them by 1 into Expert. Also, if our companion is medium or smaller, it grows by 1 size. So he's now a medium-sized wolf, which plays him about 5 feet long, which is great for a growing boy. Also, during an encounter, if you don't use the command an animal action, your animal companion can still use 1 action on your turn to either stride or strike, meaning Ghost can always do something on your turn, even if you're focused on combat. For a skill feat, let's get Forager, so you can provide subsistence for yourself and 4 additional creatures, so a typical adventure party. And on a critical success, you can get twice as many. At the 7th level, pick Battlefield Surveyor. Your rank in Perception increases to Master. In addition, you get a +2 bonus to Perception checks for Initiative, making you faster when you react in combat. This, plus your Incredible Initiative, means you're rolling at a very high level. For our general feats this level, let's get Fleet to increase our land speed by 5 feet for an even 30. This, combined with Sudden Charge from the air level, means you can clear 12 spaces before striking at a wildling, or a wight, or whatever level feels appropriate for Jon Snow at this point. I say wildling still. For our skill increase, let's get Diplomacy up to Master. Jon's really good at rallying people for a cause, even if he needs to sweeten the deal with some of those classic Game of Thrones promises he never intends to keep. Except he will, because he's noble. We also get Weapon Specialization to increase damage to 2 for an expert in that weapon, or to +3 with our swords, because they're Master. At the 8th level, we get a Fighter feat, so let's get Ghost to his next boost, increasing his potential with Incredible Beastmaster's Companion. And because he's from the north, I think it's safe to say Ghost is more of a savage than a nimble wolf like Lady. He's more like Nymeria at this point. We get to increase his strength modifier by 2 and his dexterity, constitution, wisdom by 1. They also deal 3 additional damage with its unarmed attacks. It increases its proficiency rank in athletics to expert. They also learn advanced maneuvers for its type, being a wolf they know knockdown. If your companion is medium or smaller, it also grows by 1 size, so Ghost is now a large wolf, and all of his attacks become magical for the purpose of ignoring resistances. So even if you don't have a Valyrian steel sword, Ghost can still put the bite on. For our skill feat, since we are already speaking of Game of Thrones promises, let's get Shameless Request. For when you request something, you're reduced to DC when making outrageous requests by 2, and when you get a critical failure, you just get a normal failure instead. While this means you can never cause your target to reduce their attitude towards you by making a request, they still maintain a positive attitude with you. And at the 9th level, we get an Ancestry feat, so let's pick Natural Skill and pick Deception and a Creature Lore. I think the best stand-in for White Walkers at this point would be some kind of undead, so I would go with undead. We also get Combat Flexibility, so we can pick an 8th level feat or lower that you already don't have, and use it as a focus to cast once a day. So that means if beginning of your day you're like, I want to pick my pick for this level Furious Focus, you can pick that, or any other 8th level feat at the start of each of your days when you make your preparations. And I picked Furious Focus because it takes one attack off your multiple attack penalty, meaning you are able to hit more often with that attack. We also get Juggernaut 9th level. You increase your Fortitude saves to Master. When you roll a success, you get a critical success instead. We also get a skill increase as low, so it's getting Survival up to Master. 10th level, we get 4 ability boosts: Strength, Constitution, Charisma, Dexterity. Dexterity is a really weird investment here, but it really caps off with our hide armor. And besides, at this point, if you're going into war, you should probably be wearing plate anyways for survivability. And of course, Charisma, Strength, Constitution for your basic Jon Snow strength, health, and general aptitude. For our fighter field, let's look at combat reflexes. So at the start of each of your turns, when you regain your actions, you get an additional reaction that can be used for an attack opportunity. So at this point, you can make 2 attack opportunities per round, which is pretty good. For our skill field, let's get Charming Liar. You get a critical success when you're using the lie action. The target's attitude improves by 1, as though you were succeeded a diplomacy check to make an impression. You get to talk yourself in the Yeager's pants through solid lying and charming truths, so I think this is perfectly in character. At the 11th level, you get Armor Expertise. Your rank in all armors increased to Expert. You also get the Armor Specialization, the effects of medium and heavy armor, so decide what armor you're wearing and pick that. You get Fighter Expertise. Your rank in your fighter class DC increases to Expert. And for our general feat, get Numb to Death. The first time each day you regain hit points while you are dying, you regain additional hit points equal to your level, so 11 at this point, and you don't gain the wounded or dying condition. This is really good when you are close to death and you're like, nah, I'm not going to do that. We also get a skill increase. Let's get Intimidation up to Expert to really get some Dragon Fury in you. But you don't know that yet. At the 12th level, we get Dueling Dance. For when you're in the dueling parry stance, you constantly have the benefits of it. So, that's nice. Skill feat, let's get Assurance on White Walker / Undead Lore. You forgo rolling a skill check and instead get a result 10 plus your bonus, which at this point would be a plus 24, which is a really solid check. Level 13, we get Ancestry feat, so we get Stubborn Persistence. When you would become fatigued, attempt a DC 17 flat check. On a success, you aren't fatigued. A war that's going to last every night for about a winter, maybe a couple more years than that, is going to be hard on the body. You need to make sure you can thug it out. Skill increase to get Intimidation up to Master to really get that scary dragon guy look. We also get Weapon Legend. Your ranks in all your weapons increase to Master. Advanced weapons increase to Expert. You can now select swords and increase your proficiency ranks with all your swords up to Legendary, and advanced up to Master, meaning you're going to be second to none when it comes to swordplay. At the 14th level, we have a very different type of attack style. We have the ability to switch up between dual-handed and one-handed weapons. So right now, dual-handed assault to make a strike with the required weapon, our sword. You quickly switch your grip during the strike in order to make the attack with 2 hands. So normally what would be a 1d8 attack would now be a 1d12. And when the strike is complete, you resume gripping the sword with 1 hand. So it's not a whole lot, but for a single strike, you get an extra possible 4 points of damage without dropping your dueling stance. So that's pretty nice. For a skill feat at this level, let's get Glad Hand. So when you meet someone in a casual or social setting, you can immediately attempt a diplomacy check to get an impression on them, rather than needing to converse for 1 minute. You tend to just walk up to people and being like, we have to fight undead, and they're like, sure, and it works out for you. 15th level, 4 more boosts: Strength, Constitution, Charisma, Wisdom. Get Evasion. Your reflex saves go up to Master. When you roll a success, you get a critical success instead. So if you even roll just a normal success on basically all your saves, you're going to get a critical success instead. For general feat, I think it's time for us to take advantage of some of that Targaryen blood in you and go adopt an ancestry. Now you're probably thinking, what is he going to pick for the incestuous crazy blood? And you're reading on screen and it says elf.
Every night is just the same. All upon a downtown train.
And that, kids, is how I met.
My aunt. Targaryens have a natural resistance to fire, and they get that if they're desert elves, so that's my reasoning. You get greater weapon specialization. Your damage from your weapon specialization goes from 6 if you're a master and up to 8 if you're legendary. You also get improved flexibility. While the first feat has to still be an 8th level, the second feat can be up to 14th. So we get Furious Focus from the 8th, get Brutal Finish to combine that with our power attacks. You make a strike with the required weapon, our sword, and after you make the strike, your attack ends. The strike deals an extra die damage, or 2 die when it's 18th level. So this is more combined with like getting the most die out in a single hit. You also get a skill increase to get Diplomacy with the legendary. You're the leader of the forces of good, or at least the morally gray, against the Night King. You gotta be able to lead your troops into battle. At the 16th level, let's get Ghost, 1 more level of Specialized Companion. Increased rank with armed strikes to Expert. Ranks in saving throws and perception up to Master. Increases dexterity by 1, intelligence modifier by 2, increase unarmed damage to 3 die, and increases additional damage from armed strikes to 3 to 6. For our specialization, pick Racer. Increase Constitution by 1, increase Fortitude saves to Legendary, and give him a boost of 10 feet to his land speed. Because he's such a good boy. For our skill feat, get Legendary Negotiation to attempt to make an impression, and request your opponent to cease their current activity and engage in negotiations. You're recruiting every man, woman, and child who can hold a sword to fight the undead. It's a very steep request, and Jon can talk pretty much anyone who isn't Cersei into it. I don't want to make Cersei. That'd be a very interesting character to make. Probably a rogue. Get Ancestry feat. Let's get our newfound Targaryen blood and get Elven Instincts to gain a +2 bonus to perception checks when made as initiative rolls. So, this plus your +2 from Incredible Initiative and Battlefield Surveyor means you're going to be rolling at a +29 when everything is added up. Jon Snow is probably going to be going first every time, and you need that for great battle strategies and to be a solid leader in combat. Get Armor Mastery, ranks in all your armor increases to Master. Get a skill increase, so let's get Survival up to Legendary. To learn to survive a cruel world created by George R.R. Martin, you need this. You think you made this far because he likes you? No, because he forgot you were a character and was writing some 40 pages for a lowly wet nurse who spoke to Marcella and Dorne that one time. Thank God, because we needed that POV, George. At the 18th level, you get Savage Critical when you strike with a weapon or an unarmed attack for which you have legendary proficiency with, like our swords. You can critically succeed on a 19, as long as the resulting roll is still a success. It has no effect if the 19 would be a failure, which, in my experience, if you're rolling at a 19 or 20 and the result is still a failure, you should probably walk away from the fight. You're not going to be winning. For a skill feat, let's get Battle Cry from late game Intimidation. When you roll initiative, you can yell a mighty battle cry and demoralize an observed foe as a free action. If you're legendary in Intimidation, you can use reaction to demoralize your foe when you critically succeed on an attack roll, which is pretty nice to scare people. At the 19th level, get a general feat. Let's get Feather Step. Pretty late for it, but you step into a difficult terrain. Not that impressive, but it's something to level us out a little bit. We also get a skill increase, and our last one at that, so let's get Intimidation up to Legendary. You made it to the end of the show and you're desperately trying to find a way to voice out all your frustrations. Maybe it's just time to retire up north. Also get Versatile Legend. Your rank in all your weapons increase to Legendary, and your proficiency in all your advanced weapons increases to Master. Your class DC increases to Master. At the 20th level, you get one last ability boost. So let's get Strength, Constitution, Charisma, and Wisdom to get them as high as possible. For our fire feat, there are a lot of good ones. I am personally leaning towards Weapon Supremacy, just getting additional strike in combat. So now you can strike 4 times per turn, or move 6 spaces and strike 3 times per turn. And for our skill feat, our very last skill feat, let's get Terrified Retreat. When you succeed at the demoralization, if the target's level is lower than yours, the target is fleeing for 1 round. To make sure people put respect on your name, Aegon Targaryen, the last dragon. Except the Aegon that united the kingdoms, he's definitely dead. Or the other last dragon, that's your dad, who also is dead. Or that baby Aegon, he's really, really dead. Or that other Aegon, who might not be Aegon, that's a whole thing. Whatever, you're Jon Snow. With all that being said, do you want to be the sword in the darkness, the watcher on the walls, the shield that guards the realms of men? Except the last part because you don't use the shield. Well, with the plus 32 to your initiative, if you roll perception, you're going to be swinging first every round, more than likely. Also, on top of that, you're doing amazing damage if you're putting a combo of a strike, power attack, and brutal finish. For a combo that ends up dealing 8d12s worth of damage, plus 42 on top of that for a low of 50 and a high of 146. Numbers like that would make the Hound jealous. Or if you want to go one-handed, you get a bonus to your AC, so you don't even need that shield. With the dual-handed, to still pump out 3d8 plus 1d12 plus 56 damage for a low of 6 and a high of 92 if they all hit. That's making Jaime Lannister sweat. Pro character development. Also on top of that, you have a great animal companion in Ghost, who is a large wolf whose hit points end up being about 226 by the end of the build, who deals 3d8 plus 10, that's magical damage to your opponents. Also, if you command Ghost with an action, you can have him end up dealing 6d8 plus 20. That doesn't need to worry about resistances. He's a good boy, and if you use him right, he's going to be the best boy. On top of that, Jon is just a great leader, with a lot of skills, being able to conjure up a huge crowd and lead people in combat. But Jon Snow started out as a man who wanted to make a name for himself and transformed into a man who just wanted to save everybody, even if he doesn't like where that eventually takes him. So pledge your life and honor to the Night's Watch for this night and all nights to come. Pack your heaviest parka, remember winter's coming, and prepare to dance with dragons. Just be warned, the winds of winter are gonna be rough. And should you perish before winter's end, all you'll be left with is a dream of spring, and leaving a feast for crows. Just 2 more books. I have a good feeling about 2021. Get writing, George. And that's today's build. I hope everyone enjoyed. So tune in next time while I pump out a cleric who really, really deserves a break. Alright, see you later.